Welcome to Pro Practice, your guide to piano mastery. I'm Josh Wright, and today's episode is based on the first movement of the Chopin Concerto No.1 in E minor, Opus 11. This will be part one. I anticipate that this movement will take 3 or 4 tutorials to get through the entire thing. We are going to go over helpful things with dynamics, interpretation, rubato, the pushing and pulling of time, how to voice better, pedaling suggestions, fingering suggestions, and anything else that I kind of picked up along the way. This was a piece I always wanted to learn and perform, and I recently did so for the first time on September 5th. COVID was a great excuse to have some extra time to learn this piece, and it's one of my favorite pieces in the piano repertoire, especially this first movement. So we will be taking a look at these. I have not yet learned the second and third movement, but I plan to do that in the future. My wife and I did a solo concert, and the last piece was the first movement with my wife playing the orchestra part. So really fun. And we'll be going over little things about the orchestra as well to help prepare you if you do ever have the chance to play with orchestra, or if you are going to play it with a second pianist, which is much more accessible than playing with an orchestra. It's very hard to get orchestra opportunities, and to play with a second pianist, you just need to know someone who plays really well. So let's dig in. The first thing I want you to think about is the efficient use of body weight on these first chords. A couple of little suggestions. I like to be big on this, thinking of transferring my weight in a very round, rich way, rather than banging on the chords and creating a more harsh vertical sound. Okay, and then I will come down just a little, regrow to there, and then to there. Also make sure that you do not cheat and make your 16th note into a closer to an 8th note value. If anything, you want to push it more towards a 32nd note value. You don't want to go all the way to a 32nd, but always making sure you weight full value on your dotted notes is going to make it much more bold and militaristic at this beginning. And you may have heard, I'm going to regrow here. Change. So I'm going to be softer and regrow to there. Make sure you're counting 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3, 1. That quintuplet just goes a little bit faster. Don't worry about counting every note of a quintuplet. Just count your big beats. 1, 2, 3, 1. And you could even count all of your small beats up to the quintuplet. 1E and a 2E and a 3, 1. And that will help you to stay really nice and on beat, okay? One thing that you want to think about as well are the great contrasts of characters. So this is the first theme. This is the second theme. And then this is the third theme. Okay, so with this first theme, there is heavy contrast. We have fortissimo. This under voice. A lot of people, a lot of students might be tempted to go and smash that. Not only is it a resolution, it's not truly resolved, it's still your 5/7, but this suspension resolving down to the E, we want that to be softer, and this is the melody. This is not the melody, so make sure you do that. I actually took a lesson myself from one of my lifelong teachers, Susan Duhlmeyer, and she said, you know, one thing you're doing, Josh, is you're really getting, into that, and it makes it not contrast as well with this. So I think here, you can have a little push towards the middle. I think that's a nice way of shaping. But not too anxious in there. Additionally, a lot of students have asked me in other Chopin works. I'm not going to get into all of them, but what the accents mean in Chopin's music. I believe that there's some accents in here, if I'm remembering off the top of my head correctly. Can't remember perfectly, or it doesn't mean that you accent every beat. Chopin often puts accents to mean taking a little bit of time. It's meant to accentuate it in some way. So here, that's a really nice little touch. Time, and then not so much time. Another little trick there on bar 145. Take the F, rather than take it in the right hand where it's written as an alto voice, but you can still take it in the left hand. That frees up your right hand to do that with much more ease, rather than trying to hold this F and do like a 3-4 trill, which wouldn't be as comfortable as a 2-3 trill if you just take the F. You'll be able to see that a little better on the overhead cam. Rest, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Same idea, and row to there, and then to there. If you're struggling with accuracy on those, a great way to practice is just thumbs, and then just pinkies and fourth fingers if you're using 4s on blacks. That's a common thing you can do with octaves. If your hands are big enough, using 4s on blacks is a little more comfortable, in my opinion. Unless you're trying to reach the very fastest of speeds, sometimes using all 5s can help a little bit. So, a little tangent there about octaves, but here we go. Another little thing that you may want to consider right there. So if we were to count this, it would go 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 1. I don't like it when students become robots in there with rhythm. They go 1, and they start accenting that and really showing where the 30 seconds are. Of course, those 30 seconds need to go faster, but I think of it as one long sweeping idea. One thing you can do with pedal on both of these ascensions as well is pedal, change your pedal here, and here, just finger pedal this, and put your pedal down if you go back to 141. Put your pedal down on the G, and finger pedal that E. Just hold that E through. What that does is it doesn't give that little chromatic passing tone there an opportunity to completely muddy the pedal. Instead, same thing here. We keep a totally pure E minor harmony. Here, not that it's super pure, but change. We keep that diminished harmony rather than... That can really muddy that up, that G sharp. Another thing, even I experienced this sometimes, you just saw it right there. You might overshoot that or undershoot that. One way to do this is practicing that rotation and putting it more in the arm. And memorizing that distance. Practice it eyes closed, and then until that just becomes second nature. That's very helpful. Okay, moving on. Again, very sweet. And then orchestra. Diminuendo to there. Don't do and smash the end. It's ti-dum, ba-dum, almost like a sigh. Chopin lived a very short and, in many ways, very tragic life. And we want that yearning for love and yearning for his home country, even though this was only written when he was 20 years old, which is extraordinary in and of itself. You can think of other experiences he had later in life to reflect this tragedy. That's one long pedal, by the way. It's up high enough in this register that it's not going to muddy too much. And then I change here when my harmony changes. One thing that I did